Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, or depending on place on earth you are at the moment, or depending on when you'll be watching this recording. Welcome to our fourth webinar in our series about what businesses can do in the current situation, which was in regard this COVID-19, this pandemic. And probably today we have the last webinar on this topic because now many countries started to talk about easing the quarantine and moving out of the quarantine. So I think life will be getting back to maybe new normal, and we will do some webinars, but not on this topic anymore. And today we will talk again, as always, me, Nerus, Odette, and Yelena. And Odette, do you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, hello, hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so probably I will start, and then Yelena, you and Odette will finish up. Yes. Our rules of the game are the same. You can ask the questions in questions and answers or chat section, and we will answer those questions at the end of the webinar. And the recording will be published on TOCPA website and on TOCpreneur website. Okay, so what I wanted to talk today is about capitalize wisely. Yes, so what I mean, probably everybody is familiar with this concept that from theory of constraints, that you need to build decisive competitive edge, then capitalize, and then sustain it. And when we talk about capitalize, what I see now, because in Lithuania, it's really, we are, I think we managed to survive the pandemic because our rates of infected, diagnosed infected people are going down. Like yesterday, we had only 4 new diagnosed infections. So our country is planning even to open the kindergartens and schools. So our business is getting back to full steam, let's say. And what I see, there are mistakes, what they do, even the companies who are using TOC for quite a long time. Last webinar, during previous webinar, Odette talked about this model published by Deloitte and Salesforce, these 3 steps, like respond, which was really crisis, then recover and thrive. And when we talk about those 3 phases, you really need to understand that every phase requires different way of behavior. And okay, in response, you really do your kind of horizon of planning is very short. But when you move to recover, you need to change your some criteria for your actions and for decisions. And what I saw in some, as I mentioned, in some companies here in Lithuania and some of my clients, that, you know, after some period of idle time, and they were their production was fully stopped for 3 weeks. Now it is very tempting, because when its production is fully stopped, it is very tempting to become very busy. They are really started to, we really need to load the production and this, efficiency, and that everybody have to work mentality really kicked in, and probably it's something to do with the psychology that I've read in some book, that during some big crisis, people revert to the very deep ingrained habits. Yes, and this standing idle is bad, is really a strong habit. And when you open the production and there are not enough orders, so they try to shoot everything that moves, and that behavior. They started to take any order which comes in. If the order's throughput is a little bit higher than zero, just so let's take it and let's load our production. And very quickly, within a week, their constraint, which was before the constraint was really external, not enough sales, the constraint moved internally. And they have now quite a long queues of orders. They have now, they loaded their production for almost 5 weeks. And I understand that it gives some sense of stability and security that, oh, we are back to normal. But now they started to see that there are some additional orders, quick orders from good clients. They're coming, but the company cannot take those orders because they have no capacity. And company is losing ability to react quickly to urgent orders, and it compromises its throughput. And when I talk to other companies, and what I see from the group of companies I'm on the board, that it's really many supply chains are really disbalanced. It's really some things are really too much, and probably they are already obsolete, and because the consumption changes and preferences changes. But some products, they are out of stock, and some companies, they stopped their investment projects, but now they are returning back to those projects. And you can really see the significant disbalance in the supply chain. And there is a really need for fast production and deliveries. And so the company who really implemented TOC and knows how to manage buffers, knows how to manage wisely manage the production planning, how to monitor the capacity in the CCRs and so on, they can really capitalize their competitive advantage. So I would advise to those companies really just to stop for a few hours, stop taking any orders which come in, and really see it should be quite a big enough segment for you to focus where the urgent, or as we had during the Viable Vision times, the reliable rapid response. So urgent, reliable orders, there will be really the market for that kind of order. So if you revise your marketing message and really put out to your existing clients and their competitors, to everybody in the market, that you can do fast, quickly, and reliably, of course, at the premium. So if you revise your marketing message, and you need to revise your sales and pricing process, yes, and you have the production and planning rules and processes ready, you can really, really rebound to very nice profits very quickly. And it's not, you can say, because when we discussed with some clients, and he said, oh, I cannot like really use that, that our clients need something quickly after the crisis and charge them premium price. But it's not, it's a win-win, because companies need some things really quickly. And because there was big lockdown in all all of the world, so now for many companies, the quick, fast, reliable delivery is not that you are really overcharging them. It's a win-win for them. So it is really good opportunity really to focus there and really to get more sales, more throughput, and not to stress and not to overload your production with the low throughput orders. So basically, that's what I during those 2 weeks really saw what happening, or the quite common mistake what many reopening factories they're doing this very common mistake. So that was like my short advice or just message, that just revise and make sure you are really, really using this new opportunity. And as well, I just wanted to remind you that you can register to our website, Totspreneur. You see Preneur, where you'll get all the updates, what we will do with Elena and Odette in regard of promoting system thinking for entrepreneurship journey. And now, Yelena, probably it is to you.
Yes, but first with a question to you, if that's
yes.
all right. Look, you have raised a very important question. Actually, right now it is a question mostly of urgent orders, the question of orders at all, and urgent orders. Look, if some company would be ordering right now urgently, as I see it, it is possible only in one of the two conditions. So just condition one is that during the slowdown, or during just this period of quarantine, people were consuming this product, and whether that was a shop or a supply chain or a distributor, whoever was selling it ran out of it. And this means that the consumption of this product generally in society is sort of regular. And even if it was reduced during the slowdown, still it was steady and it was constant. And it was constant to such extent that now, when the businesses go back to normal, it is not enough of what was in the supply chain. This also means that the production facility that could replenish due to something did not replenish. This something could have been that they were not allowed to work, or they were on forced, people were on forced self-isolation, or they were on forced quarantine, or they couldn't get raw materials because their suppliers, their vendors were not allowed to work, or whatever. So due to some reason, this production facility did not replenish. So, but generally, this gives sort of maybe an idea to such enterprises that if now they could check with their regular clients, and most probably they would be regular clients, because this would be for replenishment, especially if it's something urgent now. If they could find out with their clients how much of their products they have and for how long the company will not need some of their SKUs. I mean, the selling point, the point of sales, will not need some of the SKUs, and what SKUs are actually in shortage already now, or they are coming to be depleted. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, of course, if you have that information, because probably I hope like many of our listeners, they know this, the bear game, when basically if the information in supply chain doesn't travel, then we have overstock and understock or out of stock at the same time. So it's really good to start talking to the clients. But the other area is like, for example, some of the companies production companies, they were planning to do some repairment before this quarantine. And when the crisis or this shock happened, they stopped everything. And normal delivery time for some spare part or something was, they were in normal time, this, like, 1 month is okay. But now they are restarting their production, and suddenly they see their restarted machines are not working properly. So they need those kind of spare parts or some some part really urgent, because they are starting to work and they cannot work. So it's not only in the regular usage, but in many other parts. It was really, really big shock to all the supply chains. And when we have the chain and we give very big shock to that chain, it could break not in one place. It can sometimes break in several places at the same time. So that's what happened in many cases. So that's a good time to really look for those opportunities. And of course, what you've said, it's very good to talk to your clients and to say, maybe you have something over capacity, overstock. So let's not produce those goods to stock, and maybe let's produce something which is out of stock at the clients. So the urgency is I think now for the 3 months, there will be quite a lot of urgent orders for the things which half year ago, nobody would consider that this kind of thing can be really urgent.
Well, look, I'm actually thinking of sort of maybe just a set of ideas, like a kit of ideas. So one is getting, just especially for production company, get in touch with your clients and find out with them how much of what you sold them before they have, and what they may need and what they may not need. So this, just if I'm the production facility and I put my equipment, or the scheduled maintenance started before the lockdown, well, it didn't finish because all the work is interrupted, and now I need sort of weeks to complete it. But at least then I will be able to understand that maybe, I don't know, out of 3 not working machines, maybe I can make only 1 not working machine, and I don't know, borrow some parts or something just from other machines, just and put from one machine and put them to the other 2. It is sort of to be able to understand what may be the load.
Yes.
If they're regular clients, so then generally I think the other part will also can also understand that this may be for the benefit of everyone. And then the second idea that I had when I was listening to you is this might happen that my clients, to whom I'm supplying, let's say, 10 SKUs to one client, to the same 10 to another, and the same 10 to a third client. Of course, well, I will be supplying 12 to one, 25 to the other one, but there are 10 that overlap. So it might happen that just during these times that some of my clients have overstock of SKU1 while the other one is in shortage. And what about an idea of, I don't know, creating consortium? I do not know how to call it, so that actually, instead of me producing right now urgently for somebody who is just for my other client who has shortage of the product that my first client has in abundance, maybe I can just sort of buy and resell.
Yeah, so like the producer can become some kind of hub for cross shipments, at least at the beginning, just to balance a little bit better the supply chain.
Yeah.
Okay. I had the question that why there is no video.
How about actually writing right now the answer to have less load on the streaming?
Okay.
Not everybody has a good internet right now. So
Okay.
just people are working at home from wherever they are, and several computers just would be connected. It's not for our sake, it's for the sake of participants.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
you want to add something?
No.
Okay.
Let's carry on. Yeah.
So then let's carry on.
Yes. So now, Adet, share your screen.
Yes, but it will be it will be my just from Adet's screen. Just we're sitting at the same computer. So now I need to share the screen. Hold on a second. Yeah, first I needed to share the screen. Okay, share screen. Where am I? I had to go from here, of course. Sure.
Yes, we see your screen.
You can see it, yeah? Good. So in my section today, just I wanted to say a few more words about cash constraint and market constraint. Well, I was speaking, I think it was last time or one before that, about the cash constraint and the market constraint. And today I want to add a third element or a third factor, which is a necessary condition. When we're speaking about money, and well, usually when people say that they have cash constraint, that there is problem just with money, especially now. And by the way, it's very interesting that the fact that companies return back to normal, the situation with money can become worse and not better. Because now, in addition to everything that needs to be paid, the rent needs to be paid, the taxes need to be paid, people need to be paid, the companies also need to buy the material. And well, sometimes they have to use prepayment, or sometimes just they will have to pay after 30 days or 15 days or 45 days. So money can become even tighter and can become even a more pressing issue than it was in those weeks, those months, that some companies were concerned just how to survive. But what I wanted to say is that money is always the necessary condition to have a company operational, at least for salaries, taxes, and materials. This is the absolute minimum where the money is needed. But when something is a necessary condition, and when the system does not have enough of it, it is not enough to give this something a status of a constraint. In other words, if you have a necessary condition, like money, and if currently you do not have enough of this necessary condition, money, it is not enough to say that money is a constraint. It's not enough to say that company, that system has the capacity constraint in form of cash. Cash constraint is a form of capacity constraint. So, as I said then when I was speaking about this subject, Not enough money from the current business operation does not yet mean that the company has cash constraint. And then I said that cash constraint is a form of capacity constraint when the demand on capacity within a certain period of time exceeds its capacity. And cash constraint is when the company doesn't have any money and absolutely cannot raise money. This is very rarely the case, and I spoke about that last time. Again, we can say that the company has cash constraint when the company does not have any money and absolutely cannot raise money. But what I didn't say then, and just what I want to say now, that also it is cash constraint. We speak about cash constraint is when exploiting the existing insufficient money, which is step 2, not wasting the little that we have, and or elevating, it's step 4, adding more of what is not enough, will increase the company's goal units. So we can call something as a constraint only when, if we exploit this element of the system, and elevate it, and this leads to increasing the company's goal units. Only then we can say that this is the constraint. If we speak about the commercial organization, then company's goal units will be sales, profit, return on investment, market share, just whatever else, but it will be measured in money, one way or the other. So why is it wrong to act on belief that you have cash constraint when you have market constraint? Market constraint is not enough orders. Cash constraint, as we said, the company has no money and cannot raise money in any way. And cash constraint is when, if you will use wisely, correctly, the little that you have of the money, and then you will find more money and inject this into the system, then it will increase your sales, profit, market share, return on investment, only then. So why is it wrong to act on belief that you have cash constraint when you have market constraint? Now, if you decide that you have cash constraint, all your effort goes on finding how to not to waste money, and then on how to increase money in your system, which makes sense. If it's cash constraint, step 2, exploit. You exploit through step 3 by subordinating, and step 4 is elevate, which means add more. Let's say you will find the money. Now, if you have cash constraint, you will find the money. What then? Now, many companies could get a forgivable loan to keep people in the first place, to pay their salaries, and to pay rent. If the constraint is cash, then adding to the system what was not enough money should immediately improve the bottom line. That is the point. If we take 5 focusing steps, step 2, well, step 1, find the constraint. But now if you have announced that you have cash constraint, you have found it. So step 1 is okay, done. Step 2, exploit. Exploit means do not waste the little that you have. For that, you need to subordinate everything, and everything to the decision how to exploit, and then step 4, elevate. So, but even when you just do step 2, you decide how to exploit, and through subordination, you exploit, then you immediately improve the bottom line. So now, if the company got a forgivable loan to keep people, and they paid people's salary, they paid rent, did the fact of paying salaries to people and paying the rent, did this fact bring about the increased sales? Did your sales improve as a result of you paying your people now? Had you lost sales because you had not paid people and they did not do their work? Was this the situation? No. In the current situation, this was not the reason of your drop in sales. The reason was, and still is, drastically reduced consumption of your product due to the situation with COVID-19. what I want to say is the constraint is a very strong message. What is the constraint is a very strong message to management and to the decision makers and to the way, and well, it determines the way how the decision will be made, in which area decision will be made. If we announce that cash is a constraint, then we need to bring in cash and we need to see, we will see the improved bottom line. If you will not see improved bottom line because of wise using the little money that you have or bringing in more money, it means you need to work with the market constraint and not with the cash constraint. If injecting money to a system will only keep your company from laying off people or fully closing down, but will not bring you more sales now, then your constraint is market, not enough orders, and cash is just a necessary condition. The question comes, why do we need to differentiate between a necessary condition and the constraint? Both are in any system by definition. Any system has a constraint, and any system has necessary conditions for it to operate. So what is the difference? Which is which? If anyway, we have both in the system and both are critical. As I see it, the difference is extremely meaningful. The first area of difference is the practical meaning. The practical meaning and value of the constraint is that we manage the system through it, while we do not manage the system through necessary conditions. So the first one is we manage the system through the constraint, but not through the necessary condition. This is first difference. And the second difference is a system, any system, always has a constraint. There is no system without a constraint. While it is quite regular that a system does not have all necessary conditions to achieve its goals. It's like we know what necessary condition must be there, but it's not there because we didn't create it, we didn't build it. So a system can be without a necessary condition. It must be built then. By the way, this is what is happening with strategy and tactic tree, where we are determining in strategy and tactic tree what necessary conditions should be created. This is how we break it down from the upper level to the lower level. But the system always has a constraint. So we need to know both the constraint and the necessary conditions, but for different purposes. As I said, we need to know what is the constraint to manage the system through it, and we need to know what are necessary conditions to ensure that we have them. So this was what I wanted to say. And if there are no questions.
There were no questions, but there was the comment from.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
cash constraint definition slide is very important. Clarification that should be widely shared, in my opinion.
Okay.
And the comment is from Kathy.
Yeah, just you mean this one? No, probably. Well, just which was one? Probably this one, yes?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, thanks, Kathy. I think this is meaningful because for me it is practical. This is how I know where to look. And this is how I know just whether we really need to be bothered about cash as a constraint, because this is just the whole, it's one bunch of activities. And whether we know that we need to bring in cash, because without money, or to find the cash, to bring in cash, to use wisely what we have, because without this cash, we cannot bring in orders. That the two different, for me, it's two different directions.
Yes, I just want to comment that way back there's been a webinar that Ravi Gilani gave and describing precisely the behavior of the cash constraint. And but this was definitely in a situation by which there was not enough money in order to operate and in order to get more from the opportunities that the company had. And as such, I think that this presentation and this example shows that how better decisions that are associated with the direction of exploiting the cash constraint, yes, can bring the company to flourish dramatically, while other type of decision dealing with the cash can bring the company to its knees, which is precisely what is the message with the constraint, that through managing the constraint, we have like the throttle that either will lift up the company or takes it down.
Yeah, and what I see as well, that it's so easy for sometimes managers to claim, oh, we have the cash constraint and we cannot do anything and things like that, when it's not a cash, but it's a external constraint. It's not enough sales, but not about the cash. And of course, when there is the cash constraint, and if you focus on the wrong constraint, basically you take the set of actions which are not suitable for this situation because it's not that constraint. So, you know, and I agree with Kathy that we really need to stress that for the managers to know that not enough money doesn't mean cash constraint.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now that. No, what? How can I?
No,
just what? Can I go here? And try here. Do you see Odette's screen? Do you see?
Yes, we see Odette. Odette.
Okay.
Odette's slide.
Presentation. Good.
Yes.
So, okay, I'll pass it over to Odette.
Hi, everybody. I would like to use this opportunity and to say some words while concluding this series of webinars. And I want to look on actually the situation and reviewing the TOC and the TOC logistical applications in the light of the unfolding reality. What we sense is that life continues, and more countries are going through and or are planning to reopen their economies. And we can see that happening. And the economies have been under lockdown and restriction for nearly 2 months, some even more. For a complete lockdown, this is quite a long period, even though that can be emergency situation and crises that will continue, that have continued more than 2 months. But nevertheless, stopping the world, this hasn't happened before, and due to that created a lot of uncertainty and anxieties. The reality is unfolding. Many companies find themselves facing a different reality to that of January 22 at the outset of this crisis. As I stated at the beginning of this special series of webinar, TOC has been around and active for over 40 years, while economies went through significant changes and crises all around the world. So by observing carefully the unfolding reality, we can say that TOC can continue to help leaders and companies in their quest for securing the future of their companies. So, has there been any change that may cause a change to TOC? If we look from the system thinking point of view, no fundamental concept has changed. Systems still have constraints that govern their performance. Just to remind ourselves, determining how much they can achieve, not just blockages, not just difficulties, but the things that really control how much the system can perform up and down. No new type of constraint has been discovered. So whatever have been discussed so far, and even the trend that we have been leading is to say that for a system, there are usually one of two situations or one of two constraints. There is either a capacity constraint or there is a market constraint. We add from time to time the time constraints that we're using for project management, but this is definitely very few types of constraints, and I don't want to go into the open discussion because there is definitely other people that disagrees with this approach and try to put other types of constraints. But even though that have been in the past mentioning of more constraints, when we really look on the system, we see others that we have a capacity constraint or there is a market constraint. That means that we don't have enough orders. So this period that, of the coronavirus crisis did not reveal any new constraint. Many companies have experienced dramatic fall in sales, and hence they have a market constraint and probably even a severe market constraint. Therefore, the 5 steps of focusing are applicable as ever. There's no discovery of new thinking processes, tools, which means that the existing arsenal of TP tools are adequate to handle current problems, old and new ODs. Definitely there are new ODs because of the changes in the reality of the companies, handling conflicts and layers of resistance. So from that point of view, the system thinking, the 5 steps of focusing, the thinking processes, they are stable. They have been long and stable and as relevant as before. Nothing has changed. So what about the application? Has there been any change that may impact TOC application? Majority of the applications do not need any special upgrade. I believe that actually, not the majority, but all of them. First of all, project, CCPM. Projects may goes through changes, that projects that were planned or were in process may be stopped because they're not necessary anymore. But something is obvious is that there will be more projects. The world is not going to stop. Retail, replenishment will continue. Maybe the type of or the specific type of products may be changed, the taste may be changing, yes, but still people will want to buy from the retail. The retail will work, and if once there is a retail, nothing conceptually has changed there, and the replenishment solution of the TOC is as valid as it has been before. Market offers, relevant, still using the thinking processes to find new ways of enticing the market to buy the company's products and services. It can be, and that may be an impact, not the application or to the processes, but there may be some thoughts, especially for the TOC practitioners, and I think that Yelena touched this point in the previous webinar, is that if we look on the global consumption, and it suddenly shrank dramatically, okay, and people are not dying of hunger, and they are not really depressed from not having basic things and so on. Probably it is indicating that there has been quite a substantial amount of overproduction. And sometimes, even when we're trying to deal with the market offers or the market situation, that we have companies, they have their own product, they have their own capabilities of producing that, but the market is not buying enough from them, okay? And one of the reasons can be is that maybe the market is flooded with so many products like that, or alternatives and competitors and so on, that there is a great deal of overconsumption, that maybe by trying to find an enticing offer to bring people to buy more, probably what they don't really need. And there are a lot of examples in this case, but that's just a thought for the practitioners. Service industry, the same. When they need to find a solution, then the TOC is providing the thinking processes to help them to improve their performance. Innovation and startups have been, probably will be even more now. But I don't see any change from that point of view. And those applications and practitioners that have developed the TOC, or their way of using TOC for innovation startups, will continue that. No major change will be there. So when it comes to hospitals and the health system, I think everything that has been built in what now over 20, 25 years in this direction is as relevant as before, and should be very interesting to hear and to see, especially in the UK, whether this health trust that they have implemented and used TOC for many years, have they been able to handle the crisis in a better way and being more prepared. So the things that I left for the last discussion is manufacturing. And I want just to touch on the MTO and the MTA. First of all, why manufacturing? One statement that I feel, and I've checked it, and investigated, analyzed it, my view, the market has still significant buying power. While service can be more and more virtual, the world still needs physical products. The market has enough money to consume some of what manufacturing can produce. And the reason that I said here some is based on the previous statement that I made that may have been, that there has been before the crisis an overconsumption, and the world may realize that maybe we can be more moderate in the consumption. And hence, I cannot state that everything that the customers are capable of producing will be bought.
What customers?
Sorry?
You said customers will be able to produce.
No, whatever companies, yes, sorry, are capable of producing will be bought, because if there is a overproduction and the customers and the market start to be wiser by questioning themselves, is it really needed and why do I buy it? It can be that they will purchase less, but they will continue to purchase. And I'm making an assumption and an assessment, and I'm taking, for example, the US that I have the data on. The GDP for 2019 was 21.4 trillion. So let's assume that the average is 1.8 trillion per month. And let's assume that the GDP has fallen 5% in the first quarter of 2020. This is the above the count estimation. But that means that equates to $270 billion, okay, that are taken away from the GDP. The US government has given, and this is from as of yesterday, given out $500 billion under their Paycheck Protection Program, which basically says that the government is pouring money back into the economy, and this money is going to be used. Now, given also that in the current situation, there is hardly any export and import, what it means that most of this money is going to be used internally in the companies, in the country, stay in the country, and fuel the economy, the internal economy, which is sort of supporting, if you guys remember from last time, the idea that one of the scenarios is that countries will try to go in the direction of self-sustaining and being independent from other economies. Generally speaking, when you look on this situation and this stimulus of this PPP, actually it makes a lot of sense from a global point of view. Not only keeping the employment, but rather than just giving money to people by the unemployment benefit, they can basically keep the people in the working environment, keep on generating their own paycheck, and when they have the paycheck, they go and they use it, and that is turning the economy. Very interesting piece of data is that the PCE, the personal consumption expenditure, is estimated to fall by 70.6%. That means that people are buying less on this amount. At the same time, the personal saving has gone up 2%. And this actually shows that maybe people are thinking twice before they buy something that they may not need. But generally speaking, there is enough money in the market in order to sustain even the reduced GDP, which means the world will not stop and manufacturing will not stop. And we see more and more examples that once companies are allowed under the restriction to operate, they work and they move back. So the potential impact on the manufacturing companies. First of all, in the last 50, 20 years, manufacturing companies have experienced a change in the mode of supply. So this did not happen in the last 2 months. There are things that has been going for 20 years. Whereas the prevailing mode of supply was make to order, the MTO, it moved to be brand driven. Thereafter, in the mediator between the manufacturing and the end consumers started to get more and more control over the mode of supply. The distributor could force companies to have stocks and hence operate as make to stock, MTS. The response of TOC to this type of MTS, which is when the stocks are forced by the customer distributors, the response of TOC has been the MTA, make to availability. We can expect that the trend of growing power of the supply chains will continue and probably intensify now. Once economies will be reopened, company will have to, 1, watch carefully for signals of changes in the mode of supply demanded by the downstream customer, as well as assessing for themselves the negative impact of the mode of supply they have used up to this crisis. So what does it mean for these companies? One of the major negative outcomes of the reduction in demand is the amount of stock that the company is left with, especially the finished goods stock. In the current situation, the meaning of finished goods stock is the capture of cash that is critically needed. After reopening, this stock may turn into dead stock due to obsolescence, change of the market taste, or the recognition that it is not really needed. For different modes of supply, the companies need to make their own assessments. MTO, of the Hindu. If orders were produced, but the customer refused to take them, using the current crisis as the reasons, the company should find other customers or market segments that may buy these goods even for significantly reduced prices. Yeah, so we know of companies that got an order, produced the order was ready to be shipped, and the customer said, no, we are not taking it. Okay, and it's another country. Are you going to sue them, or what do you do in these cases? And basically, they are stuck. The customer said, I don't need it. I'm not going to take it from you. Also, the company should assess the likelihood of the supply chain moving or pushing them to make to stock. In this case, the company should consider implementing MTA for some products or some families. MTS. Remember MTS, even MTS of today, most of the companies are, they belong to a supply chain. They can be tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And as such, what they are producing is completely determined by their downstream. But nevertheless, they are pushed to build the stock, and their production plans are based on forecast. Forecast validity, as we all know, is questionable in any time. And today, it may be even more difficult to get a workable forecast. Hence, these companies should consider MTA, because this is a very good way how to be more in control in a situation by which you have to be in MTS. And I'm talking in this case about companies that that are checking the current situation and they find a major undesirable effect, or situations that they have finished goods stock or semi-finished goods stock, they cannot do anything about it. Yeah, and maybe some recovery, but that can bring the thought of let's plan and do something better. MTA, it is expected that the amount of finished goods stock or semi-finished goods stock is reasonable, but as per the level of activities prior to the COVID crisis, okay, when the consumption drops and the stock is suddenly jumping above the green into the blue, we cannot say that this is reasonable, but this is the reality, and there's nothing to be done about it. However, the company, if they cannot do anything about the finished good, yet the company has to assess its ability to revamp production once the demands grows. And this is in line with what Nereus has presented and the discussion Nereus and Elena have brought. Now, this issue of preparing themselves to revamp production depends on the level of raw material stock and the speed of getting the raw material from vendors. in the cases that raw material is important, especially when it has a long lead time, and it is from other countries that at the moment there is a complete stop of the import-export with them, then alternative local suppliers with short replenishment time should be considered, even if it is more expensive. So this is sort of some of the things that I had to say about manufacturing, but the general message from us is that TOC and its application and the system thinking is applicable as before. We do not need anything but just to do the work with the right people. I want to finish with general view about TOC, with whom and for what. And my view is that the necessary conditions for a successful implementation of TOC includes the leader of the system, the person with the vision, direction, the authority, determination, outstanding characters. Over 40 years that I've been in this business, I have seen many, many outstanding leaders that they liked the TOC, they wanted the TOC, and they engaged. The second necessary condition is the consultant, the TOC consultant, whether it's the internal or external, doesn't matter, but the one that has the knowledge of the TOC application, the thinking processes, that will work together with the leader. And we all provide the base for a good solution, either adopting a standard logistical TOC solutions and or developing specific injections. In the end of the day, there is really a good solution for the company and its needs. And we have hundreds, if not thousands, of examples where in each one of them, you will find the three necessary conditions in place. So that concludes my part of this presentation and concludes our set of webinars.
Yes. Any questions?
There was the comment from Jorge Odette, combining cash need with having stock of finished goods can drive manufacturers to change the credit terms that were previously offered more into paying cash. So looks like it's not a question, just a statement.
Uh-huh.
And I agree that, if you change some rules of the game, you need to check all the rules of the game.
Correct. Agreed.
And Kathy says, thank you for these webinars. They have been useful and thought-provoking. Okay, is there any... Yeah, that you wanted to say something.
I just said thank you, Kathy. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for the participation. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Odette, for insights. Thank you, participants, for the questions.
Nelu, thank you for always being there, for being not only the speaker, but also the one who hosts our webinars and all the administration of that. Thanks, very much appreciated.
And we will still continue, maybe not on every 2 weeks, but just follow us on TOCpreneurship website or TOCPA. And stay safe, stay healthy, and let's hope that we will meet sometime, not in virtual reality, but in real life.
Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Bye.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye, everybody.